My sister's body belonged to a snake. She was a snake bride. But my mother, blinded by greed, forced my sister to sell her body. The day my sister died, my mom threw a dumpling feast for the entire village. A passing monk looked at the dumplings, with their thin skins and generous fillings, and just shook his head. A grave for the living, a house like a coffin. The son is buried by the mother dies with the son. How dare you defile the wife of the Snake King? After my mom beat my sister to death, I wanted to prepare her body for burial, but my mom just kicked and punched me until I ran out of the house. When I came back, my mom had already wrapped over 30 plates of dumplings. Their skins stretched thin over the plump filling. I stared at the pinkish mounds of dough, a chill creeping up my spine as I broke into a cold sweat. Without even looking up, my mom ordered me to go invite the whole village for a dumpling feast. We're just a widow and her children, she said. We've relied on the village's kindness for so long. Go tell them I'm treating them to beef dumplings. After she spoke, I just stood there, frozen. Seeing I wasn't moving, she shot me a look and raised the rolling pin in her hand, threatening to hit me. I flinched and scrambled out of there as fast as I could. I ran, gasping for breath, my heart pounding as I went from door to door, knocking and telling everyone to come to our house for dumplings. By evening, the whole village was gathered at our place. Everyone squint their eyes and praising how delicious my mom's dumplings were. Watching them gorge themselves, I felt a wave of nausea. I was holding a plate of dumplings meant for show, and I quickly walked out the door. My heart was still racing from fear. As I leaned against the big tree by the gate, gulping for air, a hand tapped my shoulder. I jumped, and the bowl in my hands crashed to the ground, shattering into pieces. I whipped my head around and saw it wasn't a villager, but a monk. I let out a huge sigh of relief. The monk, however, was staring at the scattered dumplings on the ground, his expression growing darker. After a long moment, he asked me, "Did you eat any of these dumplings?" I shook my head honestly. "Of course not. I didn't get a chance before you scared me and I dropped them." Hearing I hadn't eaten any, the monk relaxed. "Good, that's good," he murmured. "There's too much resentment in these dumplings. They can't be eaten. They can't be eaten." I was stunned. You can tell if there's resentment in food? The monk fiddled with the prayer beads in his hand. I've been a student of Zen for 50 years. I naturally have some understanding of things beyond the mortal world. I didn't say anything else. I gathered the broken pieces of the bowl, ready to leave, but the monk stopped me. He pointed at my house and asked, "Whose home is this?" I frowned, not sure why he was asking, but I answered truthfully, "It's my house." The monk's expression shifted from gentle to shocked. "I can't believe it. In a house so thick with resentment and demonic aura, someone could be raised so well." When he mentioned a demonic aura, I got curious. "You can tell there's a demonic aura in my house?" The monk nodded. "Of course. The resentment is new, but the demonic aura has always been here." "Young benefactor, is there someone in your family connected to a demon?" I gave a bitter smile. "The villagers all say my sister was the Snake King's woman. I guess that would make her the Snake Queen. But she died today." As soon as I finished, the monk twisted his head, his face grave. "Impossible. The demonic aura is still here. The woman connected to the Snake King is definitely still around." I looked at the monk in shock. Could it be the Snake Queen wasn't my sister, but... The monk seemed to read my mind, shaking his head. "It's hard to say. And it shouldn't be said." With that, he slipped the prayer beads from his wrist and handed them to me. "I don't know who the Snake Queen is, but take this. It will save your life when you need it most." I quickly and carefully tucked the prayer beads into my shirt. Then I looked at the monk and asked, "Are you leaving?" The monk looked at me and nodded, then shook his head. "I am leaving, but I will be back. When I return, I will resolve this for you. Remember, do not take off the prayer beads I gave you during this time. After all, it's not just the Snake Queen you have to guard against. The people who ate those dumplings filled with resentment, they might not be normal anymore either." I nodded solemnly. "I understand. Please come back soon." When I got home, the people in our yard were long gone. My mom was sitting there in a bright red wedding dress, as if she were waiting for someone. Looking at her, my heart skipped a beat. Could it be she's the real Snake Queen? As I hesitated, my mom shot me an icy glare that sent a shiver down my spine. I quickly scurried back to my room and shut the door. In the middle of the night, when the autumn dew was heavy, there was a knock on my door. At first, it was soft and sporadic. I was half asleep and didn't want to get up, so I ignored it. Then the knocking turned into pounding, the kind that shakes the door frame. I was so scared I tumbled out of bed. Steeling myself, I whispered towards the door, "Who is it?" The knocking stopped. "Leo, it's me." It was my sister's voice. I was instantly terrified, my whole body trembling and breaking out in a cold sweat. "Leo, my body is missing. Have you seen my body? I've been looking all night and can't find it." I forced myself to think clearly and stammered, "Sis, I haven't seen it. Go ask Mom. Mom definitely knows where it is." "Oh, is that so? Then I'll go ask her." It's not very convenient without a body." After she said that, it went quiet outside. Just as I thought she was gone, and was about to breathe a sigh of relief, her voice came again from outside the door. "Leo, I forgot to ask you something. Earlier today, why did you say that Mom gave birth to me and raised me, and that I shouldn't talk back to her?" She stopped hitting me, "But then you said that." Why? My heart sank. It was true. When my mom was beating my sister earlier, she had actually stopped. But I had chimed in, "Sis, Mom gave birth to you and raised you, you shouldn't talk back." That very sentence reignited my mom's fury, and gave her the justification to keep hitting her. It was why my mom ended up beating her to death. So she had noticed. When I didn't answer, my sister started banging on my door. As she banged, she said, "Since you won't tell me, I'll just come in and ask you myself." I watched as my door grew looser and looser, but I was completely helpless. Just as I was sinking into despair, a burning pain shot through my chest. Startled, I quickly pulled out the prayer beads the monk had given me. The moment the prayer beads were exposed, the entire room was flooded with a brilliant yellow light. My sister screamed, "Ah!" And then there was silence. Was it really over this time? I collapsed onto the bed, panting heavily. The next morning, as soon as I stepped outside, I saw my mom washing her hair in the yard. She was still wearing that bright red wedding dress. As I passed by her, I caught a strong, earthy smell that almost made me gag. My mom noticed me looking at her, and turned to give me a wide grin. That smile, it was indescribably sinister and terrifying. It made me shudder. But my mom herself, she seemed to have become more beautiful. Her skin was fair with a rosy glow, making her look exceptionally alluring, like a woman who had been pleasured. My mom's stare made my skin crawl. I didn't dare to think or linger. I hurried to the kitchen, grabbed a few steamed buns, and retreated back to my bedroom. Then I just lay on the bed, blankly watching the sunset. Before I went to sleep, I was worried about a repeat of last night, so I took the precaution of taking the prayer beads out from my shirt and putting them on my wrist. In the middle of the night, as I was drifting in and out of sleep, I felt someone breathing on my ear, kissing me, a kind of intimate nuzzling. I jolted awake. It was an exceptionally handsome and striking man. By the moonlight, I could see he was dressed in black robes and was smiling seductively at me. I opened my mouth to scream, but he quickly covered it with his hand. He leaned in close to my ear and whispered, "My snake queen, don't be afraid. I am your husband. My name is Ranmo." Ranmo. Snake queen. I was stunned. So the snake queen wasn't my mom, or my sister, it was me? While I was still in a daze, Ranmo had already pulled down my pants. I quickly tried to cover myself. I'm intersex. I have the parts a man is supposed to have, and the parts a woman is supposed to have. I have both. Because of this, I was ashamed to be seen by anyone. But Ranmo forcefully pulled my hands away and then leaned down. In a drowsy haze, Ranmo's hand reached for mine, trying to take off the prayer beads on my wrist. But for some reason, the moment his hand touched the beads, he flinched back violently. I was too exhausted to care, so I just drifted off into a deep sleep. I slept until broad daylight. Ranmo was long gone. If it weren't for the faint soreness in my body, I would have thought last night was just a dream. During the day, I grabbed a few cold steamed buns as usual, and didn't dare to leave my room. That evening, Ranmo arrived as expected. This time I had left a lamp on, so I saw his face clearly. I don't know how to describe it. All I can say is, I had never seen anyone so beautiful. Ranmo's face was beautiful, but his expression was dark and gloomy. He walked over and put his arm around my shoulder. "Did you know?" he said. "Everyone in your village has become the living dead." My heart jumped. I stared blankly at Ranmo. Ranmo sighed helplessly. "I don't know what went wrong, but they're all filled with the aura of death. They're the living dead for now, but in 4 days at most, they will die completely." I closed my eyes, unable to look at Ranmo any longer. He didn't know what went wrong, but I did. To divide and consume the source of all that resentment, and expect to get away unscathed. How could that be possible? Ranmo said, when everyone in your village is dead, you will come with me. I didn't answer. Then Ranmo pointed at the prayer beads on my wrist. Who gave you these? He asked. I glanced at Ranmo. In his eyes, there was a deep fear of the beads. I lowered my gaze and didn't hide it from him. I answered honestly, a passing monk gave them to me. Ranmo frowned. Take them off and throw them away. Those beads are no good. I was startled. Ranmo continued, that's probably a corpse bead. It feeds on a person's life force. If you keep wearing it, it won't be long before it drains all your energy. Luckily, you haven't been wearing it for long. Just throw it away and you'll be fine. Ranmo's words left me dazed. The monk and I have no history, I've never even seen him before. Why would he want to harm me? Ranmo stroked my head, giving an unrelated answer. In this world, there's no kindness without a reason, and no malice without a cause. If someone is willing to put effort into you, they must have something to gain. Throw the beads away and don't think about him anymore. I verbally agreed, saying I would throw them away the next day, but in my heart, I was hesitant. There's no kindness without a reason, so what about you, Ranmo? What is it about me that you want? Besides, these prayer beads did in fact save my life. The next day, as soon as I stepped outside, I saw the monk crouching by my gate. His clothes were damp with dew, who knows how long he'd been waiting. When the monk saw me, he quickly pulled me aside. He looked me up and down, and then his face changed dramatically. Your intersex body, it's been breached. The Snake King has been to see you. I didn't say anything. From the bottom of my heart, I didn't want to tell the monk about Ranmo. The monk stomped his foot in frustration. It's my fault, my fault. I didn't explain things properly, and gave the Snake King an opportunity. I went back these past few days and searched through ancient texts to finally understand. The real Snake Queen in your family is you. Being intersex, you're a perfect vessel for a demon. I blinked. What do you mean? The monk grabbed my arm tightly. What I mean isn't important. You have to tell me. How many days have you been with the Snake King? I was still hesitant, not sure if I should say anything. The monk stomped his foot again. What time is it for hesitation? Don't you know the Snake King is with you just to absorb your life essence? Being intersex, you have the purest yang energy and the most refined yin energy. You might not show any signs now, but after just 4 nights with him, you'll be turned into a dried-up corpse. Tell me, how many days has it been? After hearing what the monk said, my breathing became ragged. Ranmo, was this his reason for being with me? Just as I was about to speak, my mind in turmoil, my mother's voice called out from the yard. Though I hated my mom, at that moment, her voice was like music from heaven. She had indirectly made the decision for me. I ignored the monk and hurried back. My mom was still wearing that bright red wedding dress. When she saw me, she sneered, her eyes full of gloom. Both of you, trying to steal from me. Your sister was one thing, but you inhuman freak, you can't keep quiet either. What right do you have? What right do you have to compete with me? I stared at my mom, my eyes wide with disbelief. What was I competing with her for? I wasn't good looking. Everyone in the village kept their distance from me. The only one who had ever been close to me was Ranmo. Could it be she was talking about Ranmo? That bright red wedding dress she was wearing, who was it for? Seeing my reaction, my mom's lips curled into a satisfied smile. My mind was a mess. I didn't want to get tangled up with her anymore. I stumbled back to my room. That night, Ranmo arrived as expected. After we were finished, Ranmo held me and said, go to sleep. The moment he said those 2 words, a wave of drowsiness washed over me, as if they had some kind of mesmerizing power. On the surface, I didn't show anything, but my fingernails dug deep into my palms. I was using the pain to force myself to stay awake. Sure enough, after Ranmo softly called my name twice to see if I was asleep, he got up and left the room. After Ranmo left, I opened my hand and gasped for air. By the moonlight, I could see my palm was already a bloody mess. I wrapped my hand in my clothes and quietly got out of bed. I could hear soft moans coming from the yard. I peeked through a crack in the door. There, in the moonlight, my mom was leaning over the water vat, and Ranmo was on top of her, the 2 of them locked in a passionate embrace. I quickly clapped my hand over my mouth to keep from crying out. So that's how it was. That's how it really was. I crept back to bed. That night, Ranmo didn't return. And I didn't sleep a wink. The next morning, I left the house before my mom woke up. I also deliberately avoided the monk by using the back door. I was going to the mountains to find old Nana. She was the oldest person in our village, and the only one who never looked down on me. She lived as a hermit on the mountain, and rarely interacted with outsiders. But she was also the only one who could tell me why I was born intersex, and why I was the snake bride. At first, old Nana was happy to see me, but when I told her why I had come, she sighed repeatedly. Her lips trembled as she said, "It's karma. It's all karma. But why should a child have to bear the consequences of the adult sins?" And then, from old Nana's lips, I heard the long-buried story. My mom was once the most beautiful woman for miles around. My dad was madly in love with her and swore he wouldn't marry anyone else. But with a beautiful daughter, many suitors come knocking, and the bride price for my mom was sky high. My dad, of course, couldn't afford it, so he was miserable all day. My grandpa saw this and grew anxious. Seeing my dad get more depressed by the day, Grandpa finally gritted his teeth and made a decision. He would go to Snake Mountain to catch snakes and sell them to save up for my dad's bride price. When my grandma heard this, she trembled. "Old man, are you crazy? The Snake King lives on Snake Mountain. Over the years, how many people have tried to make their fortune there, and how many have never returned?" My grandpa sighed. "What else can I do? I can't just watch my son waste away. Don't worry, I'll just catch some wild snakes at the foot of the mountain. I won't go deep. Nothing will happen." Hearing this, my grandma had no choice but to watch my grandpa make trip after trip to the mountain. Spring turned to winter, and slowly, my dad's bride price was saved up. My grandpa never had any accidents, and my grandma's worried heart finally settled down. After my mom married into our family, she couldn't believe that a family who could afford such a large bride price lived in such poverty. Because of this, my mom argued with my dad several times, thinking that he and my grandpa were hiding money from her and treating her like an outsider. My dad was eventually worn down by my mom's nagging, and had to tell her that the money to marry her came from my grandpa catching snakes at the foot of the mountain. Once she knew where the money came from, my mom got a new idea. She repeatedly pestered, cajoled, and urged my grandpa to go back to Snake Mountain to catch more snakes, using both soft and hard tactics. But my grandpa clenched his jaw and refused. He said getting off Snake Mountain once or twice was luck, but to keep going was to court death. Seeing that my grandpa wouldn't budge, my mom finally gave up and quieted down for a while. That period of peace lasted until she became pregnant with me. When she found out she was pregnant, she pointed at her belly and wailed that the family was too poor, and the child would only suffer if it was born. "I'll just go get rid of it. It's for the best." My grandpa had no choice but to promise her to take care of herself during the pregnancy, and he would go to the mountain to catch snakes to supplement their income. Hearing that my grandpa would go to the mountain, my mom finally smiled and stopped making trouble. But this time, my grandpa never came back down. My grandma went up the mountain to look for him and only found his body, which had already become a snake's nest. My grandma knew my grandpa had suffered the Snake King's revenge and didn't even dare to retrieve his body. She returned home, heartbroken. But it turned out that taking my grandpa's life wasn't enough. That night, our house was surrounded by snakes. My grandma knelt in the yard, speaking to the large snake leading them. "A life for a life. You already have my husband's. If you think that's not enough, take mine too. I beg you, please spare my son and daughter-in-law." The Snake King initially scoffed at my grandma's words. Just as he opened his bloody maw to swallow her, his head turned and he saw my pregnant mother. The Snake King saw that my mother's child was intersex, so he made a deal with my grandma and our family. He would spare them, but my mother's child, at the age of 18, had to be sacrificed to him. Before my grandma could even speak, my mom frantically said, he's yours, I'll definitely raise him to 18 for you." After old Nana finished, she sighed heavily. "That's why I said it's the sin of your whole family, and you alone are bearing it." I lowered my head and didn't answer for a long time. So that was it. That's how it was. I had wondered before how my mom dared to lay a hand on the Snake King's wife. It turns out my sister was never the snake bride at all. I stood up and let out a long breath. "Old Nana, thank you for telling me this. But I don't believe in fate. Why should I carry someone else's karma? My life is my own to control." When I got back, I circled my house and just as I expected, the monk was still at my gate. Before the monk could speak, I cut him off. That snake has been with me for 3 days. Tonight is the 4th day. I don't want to die. Please teach me what to do. The monk was a bit surprised by my change in attitude but didn't overthink it. He just handed me 3 sticks of incense and a dagger. The monk said, "This is a weakening incense. Burn it completely before he comes to your room. The scent will subtly drain his demonic power without him noticing. This knife, when he's on top of you, stab him in his vital spot. He'll become as weak as a kitten. Then, I will come and finish him. The contract between you two will be null and void." After speaking, the monk stared into my eyes and asked, "Did you understand everything I said?" I nodded firmly. I understood everything. Then I took out a steamed bun I had gotten from old Nana's house and handed it to the monk. "You must be hungry, you haven't eaten all day. This bun is vegetarian. Have something to eat." The monk initially tried to refuse, but I insisted. "If you don't eat, how will you have the strength to fight the Snake King tonight?" The monk paused for a moment, thinking, "You have a point." And my eyes were so sincere. So the monk stopped hesitating and ate the bun I gave him in big bites. After watching the monk finish, I got up and went home. Just as it started to get dark, I lit the incense the monk gave me, making sure it would be completely burned before Ramo arrived. Right on schedule, just as the incense finished burning, Ramo walked in. Ramo was especially wild tonight. I held him back and asked, "Ramo, did you ever love me?" Ramo, on top of me, froze. As the words left my mouth, even I had to laugh. Why would I ask such a pointless question? How could he have ever loved me? I was laughing and crying at the same time. Then my hand reached to the side of the bed, pulled out the dagger I had hidden underneath, and plunged it into Ramo's vital spot. Ramo looked at me in shock. He tried to pull out the dagger, but he had no strength. I rolled off the bed and patted Ramo's cheek. "Game over." Ramo stared at me blankly for a long moment before finally asking, "Why?" "Why? Ramo, last night, when you were with my mom, I saw you. You were the first person to ever be gentle and kind to me. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. I've always been curious how my mom changed so much after she killed my sister. I think turning the entire village into a living graveyard was your idea too, wasn't it? What is your goal?" After I spoke, Ramo hurriedly tried to explain. "What happened with your village, that was my doing. And it's true, I was with your mother, but my feelings for you are real. I truly wanted to wait until the 7 days were over, after the ritual was complete, and take you back to Snake Mountain to honor you as my Snake Queen. We would have lived happily ever after. You have to believe me." I curled my lips into a slight smile. "I believe you. Of course I believe you." I asked old Nana. She said I'm intersex. Mating with me would make your demonic power grow by leaps and bounds. As long as I was willing, I could be your Snake Queen forever. But Ramo, I'm not willing. Not because you're cruel and heartless and killed everyone in our village. It's because you and my mother, you truly disgust me. The monk arrived late, only after Ramo was dead. The moment he saw Ramo's body, a brilliant smile spread across his face. Without giving me so much as a glance, the monk walked straight to Ramo's corpse. He took out a small knife he carried and began to cut into Ramo's body. Then, from inside Ramo, he pulled out a small, shimmering sphere. The monk's eyes were filled with a feverish light as he muttered to himself, "It's here, it's really here. The 1,000-year snake core. This trip was truly worth it." I walked closer and asked the monk, "So you came here for this snake core?" Having gotten what he wanted, the monk dropped his disguise and shamelessly flaunted his prize in front of me. Of course. I'd heard rumors of a Snake King taking a bride here. I thought it was fake, but I can't believe I actually stumbled upon it. This is a 1,000-year snake core. 1,000 years of power. I nodded. So from the beginning, when you said Ramo would suck me dry in 4 days, that was a lie. The monk glanced at me sideways. If I hadn't said that, you probably wouldn't have turned on the Snake King, would you? I didn't answer that. I just pulled the prayer beads the monk had given me from my chest and asked, "What about these beads? Were they meant to harm me?" The monk snorted. "Of course not. These beads are actually quite a good thing. I genuinely gave them to you for protection. You have too much karma, too much resentment surrounding you. If it weren't for these beads, I was honestly afraid you wouldn't last long enough to kill Ramo." I murmured, "So that's how it is. If these beads are really useful, then that makes things simple." My eyes sharpened as I looked at the monk. In that case, you're of no more use. You can die now. The monk laughed out loud. You want me to die? On what grounds? You? What makes you think you can kill me? As he laughed, the monk's whole body went limp and he collapsed to the ground. I slowly walked over to him, and, as he stared in disbelief, I used the same dagger he used on Ranmo to stab him in the chest. Then I asked him, was the bun tasty? It's a shame. I really hate being used. After the monk was dead, I went straight to my mom's room and lit the incense old Nana had given me. Old Nana said it was soul-luring incense. My mom looked at me arrogantly and asked what I thought I was doing, lighting incense in her room in the middle of the night. I placed the incense in the burner, a small smile on my face. Nothing much, I said softly. I just figured you must miss my sister after all this time. I thought I'd call her over for a little reunion. My mom screamed and tried to snatch the incense from the burner, but I grabbed her by the hair and yanked her back. My mom struggled to get away, but being intersex, I have the strength of a man. There was no way she could break free. Before long, my sister stumbled in through the door. Her body was covered in tiny, patched-together pieces of flesh, some of which fell off as she walked. When she saw the prayer beads on my wrist, she flinched and took a couple of steps back. I let go of my mom and walked out of the room. Before I left, I told her, this is between you two. I don't want to get involved and I won't. I'm leaving. Do as you please. Hearing that I wouldn't interfere, my sister grinned. As I reached the main gate, I heard my sister repeatedly ask my mom, do I look pretty? It took me so long to piece my body back together. Do you think I'm pretty? Her questions were followed by my mother's terrified screams. I took a deep breath, looked at the brilliant sunrise, and told myself it's all over. Ranmo's epilogue. I watched her from the time she was in her mother's womb. I watched her for 18 years. My feelings for her changed slowly over time. At first, I only saw her as a perfect vessel for my cultivation. But later, after seeing her helpless and lost, seeing her cleverness and her ruthlessness, she slowly made her way into my heart. That's why, on our first night together, I was incredibly gentle with her. I truly wanted to spend my life with her. But the nature of a snake is lust. I couldn't resist her mother's seduction. And so, I lost the right to be with her for a lifetime. I lost my 1,000 years of power. Leo's epilogue. My name is Leo. I was born an intersex person. Because of this, everyone looked down on me. I was incredibly jealous of my sister. Even though my mom didn't like her either, at least she was normal. She was a normal woman. So, out of jealousy, I provoked my mom into beating my sister to death. Ranmo was the first person in the world who didn't laugh at me, who was gentle and kind to me. I truly, genuinely considered believing him, letting myself fall for him. But he had to go and shatter every beautiful thing. Fine then. If I can't have it, I'll destroy it.